Thank you for coming and welcome everyone. My name is Madison and I'll be the moderator for this focus group. Please make yourself comfortable and feel free to ask any questions along the way. We greatly appreciate your cooperation and helping us further conduct our research with your honest and truthful opinions. On this Zoom call, we will have 4 other people that will participate during this focus group. I will be taking notes throughout the discussion and the session will be recorded as well. The purpose of this session is to understand why college students aren't willing to vote, presidential or local elections. There are a couple of ground rules, so I'm about to lay those out right now. The first thing is to not leave from the Zoom call. We ask you to please also turn off your phone and be in a quiet room where there are no distractions. Don't speak out of turn. Let others finish what they are saying before you speak. Also, try to keep the conversation related to the topic and not to get sidetracked. Please keep the camera backgrounds appropriate as well. Now that we've acknowledged my name, the purpose of this group, and the rules, let's get some icebreakers done to help. Our first icebreaker will ask you to state your name, age, and most important policy issue to you.
Hello.
I'll go first then. My name is Jake. I'm 21, and the most important policy would be healthcare.
Why would you say that? What makes you think that healthcare is the most important?
I mean, especially when you consider like the current times and everything going on with the coronavirus, that needs to be like at the forefront of everybody's concern, because you have people that don't have coverage or people that can't get coverage because of pre-existing conditions. And then when you have something like that happens, or any other, disease or anything like that, healthcare needs to be there for them. So that should be, in my opinion, the most important issue right now.
Absolutely. Who wants to take the floor next?
I'll go. Okay. Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I'm 20 years old, and my most important policy is probably climate change.
My name is Lauren Armiga. I am 20 years old, and the most important policy to me would probably be climate change as well.
So you guys both agree that it's climate change. Why do y'all feel that way?
I feel like we should take that more seriously. Science is never wrong. Science is never wrong.
The Earth is just in a really bad.
The Earth is just getting ruined every day by us, and we should definitely figure out a way to fix it.
Christopher?
My name's Chris, 25. Not too sure which policy, but I definitely agree with us being more of an exporter than being an importer. I don't know. I'm more towards the economy.
So more of the business aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Vanessa?
I'm 20 years old, and I mean, important policies to me would be either like gun rights or, like women to have the right for abortions and like equal health care.
Especially in Texas. A lot of people like their guns, so it's very important. Okay, that was an awesome first icebreaker, so I'm gonna move on to the second one now. This one will consist of yes or no questions. So 1 finger will be yes, 2 will be no, or feel free to use the chat function in the group to say yes or no. So the first one I want to ask is, will this be your first election that you are eligible to vote in?
Wait.
You said 1 is no?
Yeah.
2 is no, 1 is
2 is
yes.
no, okay.
Awesome. Did y'all watch the first presidential debate for the 2020 election? Okay. Do you plan on voting in the 2020 election? All right, now we are going to move on to some open-ended questions. How many of you had parents that watched the news when y'all were younger?
I did. I did.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
When and where did all of you watch the news?
TV.
Mine was definitely in
TV.
That's when
Yeah.
I vividly remember my dad coming home from work like at 10 o'clock and turning like straight to the news, always.
Or like me getting ready for school and my mom would like already have the news on, like walking out the door.
Mine
Yeah.
would be like when I was younger and my dad would take me to school, the only thing we would listen to is either sports radio or the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I got the bulk of it was with them.
What about now? Do you guys still watch the news even though y'all don't live with y'all's parents necessarily?
Yes. Every day.
Yeah.
I still live with my parents and they have it on at like 7 in the morning. I wake up to it.
So I guess this kind of has already been answered, but y'all, it says, how often do y'all check the news? Frequently, or is it during a specific occasion, like, for example, the 2020 elections?
I think it's pretty frequent because I mean if you go on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, it's always there. So it's kind of hard not to check it. And obviously you're going to check it more during election times. But it's just hard to escape it. So you're kind of always tuned into it.
I would say I've been watching it more because of just Corona. There's always an update with Corona.
Oh my God, yes.
And like the 2020 elections are like obviously a big part right now. So like it's just on 24/7. My phone's always going off with notifications. Like
I specifically downloaded a news app on my phone since COVID happened. And we have the news playing pretty regularly, but it's really like we listen to it very selectively, like stuff that really catches our attention versus, I mean, it shouldn't be like that, but like there's also things that.
I don't watch the news because I don't have cable. I'm a poor college student.
Y'all are.
I get my news from Twitter, basically. Like anytime you get on Twitter, it's like a new thing has popped up already. So
yeah.
I also feel like more people are tuning into the news because this year has been such a hectic and like chaotic year, one that we really are living in history. So it's kind of more important now than ever to like stay up to date with everything that's going on. And like, I think it's super important to just be aware.
I agree. Yeah.
So Jake kind of answered the next question. It was a perfect way to lead into it. Where do y'all typically find y'all's news from? In other words, what platform? I know that Mackenzie said Twitter because she's a college student who doesn't have cable, but where do y'all mostly watch it?
I would definitely say like social media and also like, I mean, I don't have cable, but I still have like I like CNN like apps. Like, so I have the apps.
Yeah.
But I don't have cable.
Yeah, I think more often than not, you're definitely gonna, get it on your phone as opposed to a TV. You're not sitting watching TV 24 hours, but you've always got your phone,
yeah.
and you can just download, like everybody said, apps or social media, and it's just always there.
Yeah, I definitely get mine from social media as well too. But usually, if there's a topic that's just really that entertaining, sometimes I'll dive deeper into an article, I'll research.
I don't have cable, but I have like antenna, like those little things that the OG ones. I personally don't like looking at my news on social media because like the majority of it isn't very credible, especially if it's just like a random Twitter user tweeting about something. Like you got to see where it's from. But I also like news outlets too. They're also very biased, so I like to take a mix of all of it.
Which news networks do you watch and one reason why? So ABC, CNN, Fox, NBC.
I would say CNN because for me personally, I lean more towards the left and Democratic, and they're usually showing Democratic views and align with those kind of views more. So I'd rather watch that than watch something personally, at least that's like Fox, where it's more Republican, because I just wouldn't align with what they're saying. So CNN, yeah.
Yeah, I watch CNN. That's my main news source. I don't I agree with more the Democratic side of stuff, so I wouldn't watch Fox News because that's not what I agree with.
I personally don't have a preference of news sources because I mean I don't really watch the news. Like when I go on Twitter, it's usually like the Washington Post or like a newspaper of some sort, not like the actual ABC, CNN, or like whatever other news stations.
I kind of like going to all the networks. I don't really pick and choose. Sometimes I also like going to international networks just to see what they're talking about the U.S. because sometimes they have a different perspective and their culture is slightly different from us. So I'm just kind of curious what they have to say on their side of the spectrum.
My household only watches 2 channels. It's either Fox or Univision. That's it. No in between. One or the other. Fox for the sports and the news, and Univision for the novelas and the late night news.
Okay. There is a spike in votes from young demographics. What are the some possibilities for this reason?
I think like the millennials are like getting to the age of voting, and I think they're more aware of what's going on in the world now. That they're like, okay, now my vote actually does matter, because so many people think that your vote doesn't matter and it just adds up. I think people got into their head like, let's go vote, let's change something.
I also think Gen Z right now is like huge. Like the TikTok movement or whatever, that's the craziest thing. Like all these Gen Z people are like, wow, like I can actually vote in this election and I can actually change something right now. Like, let's do it. And they're seeing all these other people do it. So they're like, okay, like that's cool now. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, I think social media has I think social media has like a huge part in like the spike in voting.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the older, like my parents' generation and like a generation before them, they always think that we're like kind of lazy or like we need our hand held to do anything, and we're just kind of like, no, like, we don't. We can speak for ourselves with a vote.
Yeah, I think like everybody said, pretty much, is social media allows you to see the topics that are trending right now and what's going on. And once you hit 18 and can actually vote, if something like specifically hits home to you, then that gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, I want to make a difference about it, make a change. And I'm assuming that's why a lot of younger people are going out to vote.
I definitely agree with how everyone's socially connected. And I also think like the movements are also catalysts of what makes people want to go ahead and vote and take initiative.
All right. What are some of the reasons that make you more inclined to participate in politics?
Like I said, I guess if it's something that specifically hits home, you'd want to take part in it. Like I said, healthcare, especially if you know someone that's gone through an issue with healthcare, if they couldn't get it coverage, or gun rights and gun laws, if you've had someone affected by gun violence, then so I think it's whatever kind of hits home with you and pertains specifically to you that would make you want to get more involved with things.
Yeah, like immigration, or especially nowadays with the Black Lives Matter movement. I think a huge part of like what drives us for politics also is very like what they stand for and what's going on in the world, which influences us.
Right.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, actually, never mind, hold on. I'm thinking of an answer, hold on.
I also like,
well, sorry, you go.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. People these days, like the younger generation, because I know my mom is very Republican and I was raised that way. And then I got to college and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to believe what my mom's believing, So I think it's very like much your parents, you're like, I don't know. I don't really know.
My parents definitely got me more involved in politics than I would be without them.
Yeah.
There's also a great group of the population who don't end up voting. For what reasons do you think that is?
Because the electoral college.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, electoral college.
I think a lot of people think, like Lauren said earlier, that their vote just simply doesn't matter, which is they think if, hypothetically say 10 million people vote, what is my one vote going to do to sway anything else? And you have people that have issues with getting registered or just simply don't get registered for whatever reason, whether it be laziness or again, I think it mostly falls back onto them thinking that their vote doesn't matter. So they just simply don't care enough to do it. Even if they care about issues, they just don't care enough to do it.
Literally, my parents in like this election, they're just kind of like,
Yeah.
I also think it could be a reason like people don't know enough about the candidates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uninformed. Like uninformed
They're
about
informed and like again they don't think their vote matters, but like if one person says that and then 10,000 people say that, like now that vote matters.
Yeah,
I also think sometimes they don't even like either candidates. So
that's what I was gonna say.
do I really want to vote for this person who's done this, or do I want to do?
So they just don't do it at all.
Kind of like the lesser of two evils. Like I know I wasn't able to vote in the 2018 election or 16, but it was either Trump or Clinton, and I'm not really gonna go into that, but like either one of them for me was a no-go. So I probably wouldn't have voted in that election because in my opinion, of course, I believe it's important to vote, but I also think if you don't believe in either one of the candidates, like not voting matters, if that makes any sense. Which, okay, that sounds really dumb now that I said it.
no, I get it. I get it.
I just didn't like either one of them. So, I mean, I couldn't vote, like I said, but if I could have, it would have been like the lesser of two evils, like I said.
Mhm.
Okay, now we are going to do 2 focus group activities. This is to understand where everyone's head is at. The first activity is a survey. Each participant will have about 45 seconds to answer. Are we just gonna write these down in the chat?
No.
We
Sorry.
just say it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you guys up to date with our candidates' views? And how up to date are y'all?
I'm updated with our candidates' views. And the reason I'm up to date was because CNN tells me what I need to know, and Twitter tells me what I need to know, and all these news apps tell me what I need to know. I do my own research, so I'm up to date with mine.
Yeah, I'd like to think I was up to date. Like Lauren said, you just kind of have all that information right at your disposal, and so it allows you to just stay up to date on what they're saying. And it's important to know what they're saying because if you're Democratic and you want to go in and just vote all blue, that's fine. But there might be one candidate that you're voting for that has some radical view that you're not even aware of, that you're just casting a vote to. So it's important to stay up. So when you think about it like that, I try my best to stay up to date and knowledgeable on what the candidates' views are. So I would say I am.
I agree with that. I like to see their views, but like from separate, very like biased news points, because I don't really like getting all my news information from one, like from Fox, let's say, because then Fox is very like conservative too, but I also don't want to get it all from like CNN or like Twitter too. I like to mix it all up too, because you can see why people agree with certain things or why they don't, and it makes it easier for you to decide what you want, like why you would want to vote for one certain candidate versus the other.
To form like a more complete view and opinion because you look at all these different platforms. Anyone else have anything to say before I move on?
Oh, I'll say something. I'm up to date with some of their views, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like up to date with all of them. I'm not a really political person. I don't get into it that much. I don't like arguing about it. I think it's so annoying. I really do. So, I am up to date, but I'm not gonna say I know every single like policy that they have.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like I know it's important, but it's just like for me, no matter which way I look at politics, it's all corrupt. So
too many policies too. It's so many.
And then some of the websites, like even I know Trump's website doesn't even say all of his policies. So it's
No.
where am I gonna get all like the correct information from? You know, like I don't know.
Guess you gotta ask him. I don't know, man.
Okay. Do you believe your vote doesn't matter? Why or why not?
I think my vote matters because I think it's a bit ridiculous to think that your vote wouldn't matter in something as crucial as this.
Yeah, I think my vote definitely matters because we said many times, like, you know, thousands of people think their vote doesn't matter. So, and then it adds up.
I mean, I get where people are coming from when they say it doesn't matter because of the electoral college, like you said, but it definitely does matter because if like a whole state is like, oh, my vote doesn't matter, that's a lot. Like that's gonna matter. Like numbers add up quick.
Yeah. And like
I
growing
agree.
up,
Oh, I just said I agreed with that.
okay. Growing up, my grandparents always were just like, your vote matters. It you know, I forgot what I was gonna say. But they just like always pushed it on me.
It'd be a waste if you didn't vote. You never know what opportunities this new candidate, like if like you don't necessarily have to vote Democratic or Republican. Sometimes you could just add a third name in there. You never know if that person is that popular and they can get into, starting a new party or something.
I mean, I think we have the right to vote for a reason. So why wouldn't we vote?
Exactly. Especially when so many people fought just for us to be able to vote, especially women, you know, like there were so many people that died, so many people that were activists just so we could have this freedom. And I feel like sometimes people do take it for granted.
Yeah.
Perhaps if people do not vote, do you think it's because people don't like the candidates?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was like a huge thing. I think it's a huge thing now in 2020, and then it was a huge thing in 2016 with Clinton and Trump as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a huge thing for almost any election.
They both had like they had like really bad like past, and that both of those things were like just bringing them down. But obviously, Hillary Clinton brought her down more than Trump's did. But
do you know where to vote or how to vote?
I know
Yeah.
where to vote. I currently live in San Marcos and I'm registered to vote in Houston. So I have to go to Houston to vote, but I do know where to vote and how to vote.
I'm in New Braunfels, but I have a lot of friends in markets. And for example, my Instagram, everyone's just posting different stories and different locations of where you can vote.
Yeah.
yeah.
So even if you didn't, it's very easy to find out.
Yeah, you can just like look up voting locations anywhere in this city, wherever you need to go.
A quick
There's an elementary school. It's literally like a 2-minute walk from my house, and it's just like early voting over here. Like the big signs, all like even in the neighborhoods they're in here. But I feel like it's a lot easier to find out where to vote than it was like back before our smartphones were a thing.
Do you vote for your interests or for others?
I mean, I think it's important to obviously vote for your own interests, but it's definitely important to vote for others. Like, I'm not someone that can have an abortion, but I still think it's important to vote for those that can, and those that, if that's their right. Obviously, it's nothing. I have nothing to do with that, but you still want to vote for the right people that can put that in because it's better for the overall goal you're trying to reach.
Call me selfish, but I vote for myself for things that I believe in.
I vote for myself more, but I mean, I still do care about what others have.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you're thinking of others when you are voting for yourself because you would put yourself through what you're voting for, like you're voting for the right reasons. So I think, yeah, I'm voting for myself, but it's the right reasons, like, I don't know.
Okay. Are you encouraged by others to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Who would y'all say influences y'all?
My father.
Yeah, I would say definitely my parents for sure. Definitely.
All of my roommates right now are arguing about it. So, because we have two sides in the house. So we've all been, we're like, we're going to vote. And we're like, we're going to vote first though.
I vote for my parents because at one point they weren't able to.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. It's kind of like what Jake said about, women and abortions. There's multiple other reasons why people can't vote. Either they're not old enough, but just because they're not old enough yet doesn't mean they also have opinions, or maybe they're not like legal in this country, so they can't, or like whatever reason prohibits them from voting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on. The next thing we're going to do is a word association. I'm going to ask some questions, and I want y'all to say the first thing that comes to y'all's mind. The questions discuss presidents, COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and other important political issues. So the first question I'm going to ask is, when you think of President Trump, what words come to mind?
Are we typing them or are we going to say them?
I think you're just going to say them.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with narcissist.
I would
Okay.
say ignorant.
Money.
Money hungry. I was going to say that.
The big Trump Tower in Chicago.
Chris, what about you?
I said economy boost.
Yeah, a businessman.
Very business. Yeah.
I say an idiot. When you think of presidential candidate Joe Biden, what words come to mind?
Old.
Dementia.
Senile.
Settling.
Incoherent.
Last
Settle.
choice.
Not my first choice.
Settle for money.
Seems like a nice guy though.
Yeah.
Better than Trump is what I would say. Okay, so as far as the COVID-19 pandemic goes, what does it make you think about?
It could have been prevented in a way. I just think if we had a better plan in place for things like this, we wouldn't have 200,000 deaths. We wouldn't have such high unemployment. We wouldn't be
Plan for this
we
to
wouldn't
happen.
we wouldn't be on Zoom right now. Like we would be in like
Yeah, I agree. It's something that eventually is inevitable to happen, a pandemic like this. But I think, with the lack of leadership and the lack of believing in it, really kind of screwed over everybody else and caused us to live in the current, climate that we live in now.
Think about prioritizing my health and just being a little more conscious. Like I don't know why we weren't to begin with, like with washing our hands and maintaining a distance from each other, but I have to be extra careful now because my dad is like, he's retired. He's like 63.
My grandpa passed away in March at the beginning of COVID. And so we didn't get to have a funeral. We haven't got to have anything for him. And so it really just like COVID makes me think about like all the loss, literally everything like that everyone lost, not just me. Just like sucks.
Christopher, I don't think we can hear you.
Can't hear me? Really? You don't hear me now?
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay. No, I just think that a lot of memories were lost. Like, for example, I was supposed to have like a wedding during that time, so that had to get pushed back, and that it just complicated a lot of things. So,
Everything.
it just complicated a lot more things that it should have. Economy to health, to just the daily tasks of living. Like even just going to HEB, you got to put a mask on, go to the store, put a mask on, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
too, it just made it everything more difficult.
It's like creating new habits too. Like I forget my mask all the time.
We literally clean all the things that come in our house
Yeah.
because of how paranoid we are. It's just like you don't know who's touched that, who's breathed on it, where it's been. Especially with like, man, I want to go out to eat so bad, but you can't because you don't know where those plates or forks have been.
Yeah, especially me because I work in the food industry. I work at Pluckers.
Yeah.
So not only has it changed the way that we live our lives on a day-to-day basis, it changes the way that you work too. There's so many precautions that we have to take. Every time I walk in the door, I'm getting my temperature taken. I'm getting questions as how am I feeling. Gloves are mandatory when making any kind of contact, whether that's me accepting a payment from them or bussing a table or anything like that, as well as staying away from my own coworkers because we want the perception of the restaurant to look good and we want people to feel safe when they do come in those doors for our safety and for theirs,
Yeah.
But I also selfishly, like whenever I think of COVID, I think of no sports because that's kind of what I'm in school for. I want to work for ESPN and be like a sports commentator. So sports was kind of like my one distraction when school got really hard or whenever I just, it's something I'm passionate about. So it sucked that all the sports got canceled.
Football's back though.
Yeah. Dak Prescott got hurt though. So the next question I'm going to ask is how would y'all describe the year 2020? The first thing that comes to your head.
Disastrous.
Unpredictable.
Scary.
A blessing in disguise. And
That's interesting.
if you look at it in a certain way.
Yeah. Like in certain
I
aspects,
can't
like
hear you, Chris. Are you saying something?
No, you can go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said we couldn't. I couldn't hear you.
I think it made everyone slow down. And actually, like, I think everyone was like going too fast for a second. And then Corona really just like pumped the brakes on everyone. And everyone realized, like, wow, like maybe we should chill out for a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it kind of helps put things into perspective. So many things so many people have died, so many things have just gone off the wall that, you just kind of have to take a moment and step back and realize what's really important to you and what you really want your legacy to be and stuff like that.
And I think my mom kind of said it best. I feel like in today's society, our phones are so critical and so crucial. We're so tied to our phones. When Corona happened and, everyone had a quarantine, I think it also kind of made us, like you said, step back and evaluate like, wow, I really miss like basic human interaction. I miss going out and doing things with my friends and not just being on a Zoom call or being on FaceTime with my friend on my phone. Like, at least for me, kind of realized like, okay, put your phone down and like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would stay home. My dad moved here because they closed down like where he worked like forever. And we would just sit outside in like the patio and we would hear birds. As simple as that is, we wouldn't hear them, and then we just hear birds all of a sudden like come back. We got a bird feeder. I've seen birds I've never seen in my whole life come to my backyard. I spend time with like my dog more. Like I appreciate, like, I mean, it sucks that a lot of people lost their jobs and stuff, but like in another sense, it really made us like appreciate those who we love and like those we spend the time with the most.
It's just like living in the moment right now, especially right now. Yeah.
When you think of police brutality, what do you think of?
Eric Gardner.
Yeah, I guess you definitely think of the victims first. I mean, you see the videos and you see how horrific how it all is. And So whenever you think of police brutality, if that's not the first thing that pops in your brain, then I mean, I don't know what else personally would be.
Also think about the victims as well, but also what can we do for the victims, such as like police reform. That's what I also think of.
Yeah.
It's like injustice.
Climate change to you means
Something we should definitely look into. Something we should start worrying about pretty soon.
Saving the entire earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, businesses too. I know, like for example, Amazon. I don't know if y'all seen their commercials, how they're starting to use renewable energy in their vehicles. I feel like that's something to be related to that.
I think brands need to be more conscious about it. We just did Nesquik. They're like #2 in the entire world for pollution. Like all these brands need to be a lot more conscious about
Yeah.
everything that they're doing.
save the turtles. What comes to mind when you guys think of science?
That we should follow science and not opinions. We should listen to the facts and not.
Yeah. But it's pretty much just factual. It's hard to
It's the truth.
sit there and just argue against.
We should listen to the doctors and not our government.
Yep.
All right. What do you think when it comes to our economy?
I think that right now, I think that our leadership is putting the economy first instead of our people first, and they're not thinking of like the long-term effects of what they're doing right now, and instead of thinking of the short-term effects when it comes to the economy. But I think the economy should be #2 on our list, and #1 should be, the well-being of everyone.
I love that.
I think our economy is doing good.
Yeah.
I think it's really good, especially with the policies that enforce healthcare now instead of being punished for it. Other than that, I also agree with us becoming exporters rather than importers, which also increases our dollar amount.
Awesome. The last question I would like to ask is, whenever you think of religion, what comes to mind?
Separation of church and state, and how important that is, and how top of a priority that should be, rather than whether what you believe in or not. But you shouldn't have I don't believe you should have the leader up there saying God's going to fix everything, there's nothing to worry about, when you have science to actually change things. So I definitely think there needs to be a separation between the church and state.
Yeah, I agreed with you. Said like I don't think religion should be a part of like our politics and our government, like what they make decisions over.
Our medical decisions.
Yeah, it just gives them, a reason to be.
Gives them the upper hand.
Yeah.
It's
So for me, personally, I believe religion is a comfort. And like what I mean by that is there's so many different religions and beliefs out there. Who's to say that mine is the right one? I was born and raised Catholic, but as I got older, I have my own set of beliefs. Science is driven by that a lot, but I feel like there's so many different religions that are tied together in some way. And I believe it's a comfort to make people feel good and to make them have a sense of being.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to say?
I think of religion like when I wake up, when I go to bed, not when I'm going to make decisions that affect other people.
Yeah, I would consider myself a religious person, but I like when the government leaders are mentioning like God and all these things, I don't think they have like their best interest at heart. So it's just annoying to see them, because you've seen all these people's past, like you can very much tell that they're not religious. So I very much agree with the separation of it.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're pandering to a certain audience when they say things like that.
Mm-hmm. They use it as like a publicity stunt. It's just
They use it to like, give excuses to their policies and behaviors.
yeah.
All right, guys, this concludes our focus group. I'd like to thank everyone for coming and participating with y'all's honest opinions and being very respectful and open-minded of what all of us thought, even though we don't necessarily share the same beliefs or values. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.